Well, joining us now on the News Hour is Jason Johnson, who's an Al Jazeera contributor and a professor of political science at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. He's live from Seattle in Washington. Very good to have you with us. So, do you think Obama's legacy is under threat? Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, has put a lot of emphasis on law and order, and some liberals see this as code phrase for discriminatory policing of minorities. Do you think he's going to undo the decades of progress that have been made towards racial equality in America?
Well, yes, Falibal, I think we need to be clear about what Jeff Sessions represents in this day in general. Think about it. On this day, we have President Obama, who's going to give his final speech as president. We have a conversation where Jeff Sessions is trying to become Attorney General, the chief police officer of the United States, and he has to be asked about his feelings towards the Ku Klux Klan on the same day that Dylann Roof, who murdered 9 people, is discussing his history. So all of this sort of works together. Sessions is going to do everything in his power to roll back everything that Barack Obama did and destroy any attempt at making the United States a more equal country for all people.
But he's denied, Jason, that he's racist today. He denies that he once supported the KKK or failed to support the voting rights for African Americans. And he said today that he would disagree with Trump when necessary. You don't buy that?
No, he's lying, and he's lying for PR reasons. Let's be candid. Jeff Sessions is going to become the Attorney General. There are enough Republicans on the committee. They've got the votes. He's going to become Attorney General. But he has a long history. It doesn't matter what's in his heart. He has a legislative history of prosecuting selectively African Americans who are trying to register to vote, of standing up and preventing any African Americans from becoming judges in his home state of Alabama. So it doesn't matter what he says or how he feels. His actions demonstrate that he will not treat or adjudicate all Americans equally.
You say he's going to be confirmed, and, you know, interestingly, for our international audience, Sessions is appearing before the same committee that rejected his bid for a federal judge post in 1986 after, you know, witnesses testified that he'd made racially insensitive remarks. So he was too racist to become a federal judge in the 1980s, but it looks like he's going to be confirmed this time as Attorney General. And then, as you said, you have Dylann Roof today becoming the first person to get the death penalty for federal hate crimes for the Charleston shootings. What does this all say about America, Jason? For people who are outside America, it's very puzzling, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it says a couple things. One, in 30 years, in 1986, you had Democrats who were controlling the Senate. And that's one of the reasons why these kinds of issues were so important, and he was not able to become a federal judge then. But what it says is this: you have a lot of bigoted people in America. That's not new. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. And a lot of that drove not only the election of Donald Trump, but it motivates people like Dylann Roof, and it motivates people like Jeff Sessions. And while Sessions himself will say that he views the law neutrally and that justice is blind, he has demonstrated that when he has been made aware of laws that have a disproportionate impact on people of color, he will not stand up for the rights of those people. And for him to say that he'll disagree with Trump on something like banning Muslims from America, if our minimal standard for justice is to not discriminate against people based on their faith, then America has already lost its way before he gets confirmed.
One last question for you, Jason Johnson. You know, for many African Americans, Barack Obama represented hope. But many African Americans, like those we heard in Gabriel Elizondo's report, have expressed disappointment. What went wrong?
Well, I think that Barack Obama, there were a lot of really high expectations, and there's a difference between what someone can actually do, what someone is capable of doing, and what the constraints of government are. I'll say this about what African Americans, and I think a lot of Americans will think about Obama years down the road. He is sandwiched between George Bush, who was one of the most unpopular presidents in American history, and he's between Donald Trump, who is coming in as the most unpopular elected president in history. I think the further we get away from Obama's legacy, the more people are going to look back on this as a relative golden age sandwiched between two extremely controversial and problematic presidencies.
Jason, as always, very good to get your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us there from Seattle. Jason Johnson from Morgan State University in the U.S. Thank you.